need to turn our mics on.
Oh, do we have to?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
I can't tell this.
I'm good. Thank you. We're the only people that don't have to sign it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
It's orange.
And blue.
I don't see any blue.
The stream one should turn
No,
on.
I didn't have the Now heart. it's blue.
All right.
It go.
Welcome everybody to our December 6th Select Board meeting and Department Head meeting. Time is now 6:31, so we'll get going. And as is customary for us, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we'll have the roll call of the board members. Myself, Dave Hemingway, Chair of the Select Board.
Marlo Herrick.
Norman D. Blake.
And we will go into announcements and project status update. Do we have announcements at this point?
I have no announcements.
Doesn't sound like that's on, but he said he has no announcements.
Sorry.
So for the, I forgot to open it up. I'll do that now. For the project status, this is something we do at the department head one each time. And just make this big enough that people should, well, that's not gonna work. Anyway, so this can be found, I know it's tiny, you can't see it here, but you'll see a chart like this on the website under the Select Board area each month, and that is the Select Board project status overview. So that's what I'm talking about and coming from here. I'm just going to run down them quickly so that you have an idea of what's going on throughout town and that we've been looking at and working on, and then we will move on to our appointments. First one is Concord Drive. That's complete. Paving was done a while ago. Now the driveways are too, so that is considered fully complete at this point. Clothespin Bridge is still on track for the 2022 construction date or 2023 fiscal year of the state. Continuing communications with VHB. The fee schedule was completed, updated, and done at the last meeting with the public hearing that was held. And that has been updated and is scheduled to go into effect January 1st, 2022. The salt shed is still under the boundary research section, and we are hoping to have the access for that complete next year, but we are still working on that. Town Hall here has lots of ongoing projects. As everybody's noticed, the paving has been done. The entrance to the stairs, which had an unscheduled demolition, is scheduled to be fixed up this month. We are also getting quotes for security with the door and fob system. And then we will be moving on to the refrigerators. That was a deal made with the church several years ago, and with ADA compliance. Most of those will undoubtedly turn into next year's projects, but we are working on all of that now. White Plains Bridge is of course still behind schedule with the engineering incomplete. Expected completion is unknown at this time, but as soon as we can possibly make it happen. We will be deciding on the future direction of that project a little bit further on in this meeting, so you'll hear a bit more there. For town property sales, some are completed and back on the tax list. That is continually ongoing. You'll actually see some bids tonight on that. And then deeded lots are in legal preparation to go up for bid soon, probably in another month or two. The Deer Meadow Solar is still in progress, expected in 2023, and we'll expect to receive further engineering in Q1 of this coming year. The Wetlands Ordinance has now gone through final revisions approved by the Planning Board and posted to the website, so that will next be a town ballot vote, which will be this year's coming ballot. And if anybody has any questions, especially if you are in person, we have most of the Conservation Commission here, so please ask them if you have any questions about it. Next is contracts and job descriptions. That's in progress. We've got one signed, two others in progress, one of which we will be talking about this evening. Records retention is now a signed policy, and the document schedule and appendix is to be completed by the town meeting. And that is what all of the details of the documents that are going to be fully tracked in it. There is, of course, a skeleton for that at this point, but that will be forthcoming. The policy review is on track. We're hoping to get it by the end of the year, but that's going to be pushing it. But that will be hopefully reviewed by the end of the year, and then there will be some more meetings and probably a public hearing to go over those changes that we would like to make before we actually make them. The budget is, of course, in progress. There's more department meetings this meeting, and of course that's finished for the 2022 town meeting, and there will be the mock budget hearing and public hearing that happens beforehand. And CIP is in progress. We are expecting to get their report by next meeting, or at least by the end of the month. And that covers our project status. So, next up on the agenda, unless anybody else here has announcements to make. All right, next up is our appointments, the first of which is the Conservation Commission. So whoever is making this presentation, please come on up. The switch is on the bottom.
No, on the back of it, actually. I'd call it the back. That could be the bottom, I suppose.
Yeah. There it is.
No, you
The
had it, you
little
were there.
wee dot in the
Yeah,
back.
yeah. Feel it?
Oh, it's
Yeah, it's
weird.
really
It's
small.
all taped.
There you go.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Mary Jo McGowan, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Conservation Commission tonight on this particular issue. As you may or may not be aware, the water precinct in Boscawen owned a fair amount of property on Walker Pond, and they, thanks. And they are having to liquidate it for their own purposes. So they had land on both sides. They've kept it protected for many years with the idea that it was the best thing for the water, and they wanted to protect for the water precinct. They wanted to keep the water protected. So they're now having to liquidate it. They made an offer to the Conservation Commission in Boscawen to buy a huge chunk of land on the Boscawen side, which the select board supported, and that's happening. The Boscawen, it may have already happened. So they're now opening up a bid on some property on the Webster side. So the Conservation Commission, in keeping with our mission to conserve wetlands and conservation land that we feel has conservation value, we have made a decision and voted unanimously in our commission to take money out of our conservation funds and put a bid on that property. We know there are probably other bidders. We can't really compete with the deeper pockets, but we feel that the Conservation Commission purchasing it on behalf of the town would own the property, would benefit everyone in the town. It would keep that land protecting the water, because there's quite a bit on the shoreland. So what we're here tonight to do is, hopefully it's the easiest thing on your agenda, is to ask the select board for a letter of approval, approving the bid, that we put in the bid. We did our due diligence, and we know that we have to get select board approval. We'd really hopefully have your wholehearted approval, because we feel it's the right thing to do for the town. And then we would put a bid in. We have to have the bid in by Wednesday. That's when they're asking us to make the bid. So it all kind of happened pretty fast, but that's what we're here to ask for, is the select board's approval and support, more importantly, support for the project.
Okay. So my question, and to make sure that people are aware, you get approval from us to be able to do this, and then that happens contingent upon the results of your public hearing tomorrow?
We have a public hearing scheduled tomorrow, if this goes as we hope, that the select board approves it. And then after that, we have to make a bid, which may or may not even get accepted by the water precinct, because I'm sure there'll be people outbidding us, but we do feel that based on the way that they worked with the Boscawen Conservation Commission and based on the way that they've managed this land all this time, that their heart really wants it to be conserved. So we think that, you know, even if we don't bid as much as other people, we might still win them over, is our hope.
Is there I thought there was like a bid limit on this property, meaning you have to bid this much.
There is, and we don't have that much money to offer, so we're hoping that we can, that if we make a good faith bid in keeping with, you know, more in line with what the Boscawen Conservation Commission did, we'll be able to, that they'll accept it.
Yeah, that doesn't seem quite. What am I trying to say? I mean, again,
Logical. I know.
No, or you know, when you put something out to bid, as a public bid, and then they would accept something lower, then that's, because I think there was a limit on that.
They do have a limit, a low limit, and we are not gonna make that limit. But we're still willing to go out, put it out there and hope that they'll accept it. And we feel like, and because of some of the language of the way that they worded it, we feel like they do want to keep it in conservation, so we're hoping that, seeing that it's the conservation bidding on it and the town that would be owning it and it would be in protection, that they would agree with us.
If it's anything like the way that we do ours, and I haven't read their bid spec for it, but if it's like the way that we do ours, it's usually within reason as determined by the board. So they could decide, well, we don't have any offers that meet the minimum bid, so we'll go down to this because it's reasonable and what we want to support. Like it's possible. It's not necessarily the most likely, but it's definitely possible and reasonable.
Dave has to write.
Sorry.
Oh, yes.
I did appreciate it. I just wanted to add that when they sent out the specs, they said there was a sort of disclaimer at the bottom. This is what gives us hope. There was a disclaimer at the bottom that said, we are not necessarily impelled to accept the highest offer. So they are going to use their discretion as to how they feel the bid meets what they're really looking for, so.
Yeah, thank
But
you.
still, the minimum part is what bothers me. Like, so for example, when you bid on something, you could, when you go in to bid on it, you know what the minimum is, right? So why you wouldn't waste your time putting in a bid in? And then maybe this person bids $10,000 more. Then let's say you guys went in at the minimum bid, let's say. Then I can understand the discrepancy there. That would be my, that's what I have a problem with that. That it's like misleading to the townspeople that they can put a bid in. Granted, it may not be accepted but they hit the minimum amount. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure
But anyways, that's
Yeah,
just how I feel about that.
I definitely agree that they could just look at it and go, that's not even close, so no. But we're hoping that they don't, and we're hoping that, I couldn't remember the exact language that was in that led us to believe that they were hoping to keep it in a protected state.
Do you happen to know roughly how much they were asking for minimum bid?
I think
The
it's
minimum rate, yeah, 60.
60,
Is the minimum.
okay. Thank you. So any other questions from the board?
I know Boscawen's Conservation Committee has a lot of money, and they're doing a lot in Boscawen to save the land, and I know that lake is like one of the only in maybe New England that's so clean and pristine, so I think that's why they're trying to save that land, because if you put 100 houses on it or whatever, then, you know, then we have problems with lakes and clean water and stuff, so I know that the Conservation Committee in Boscawen would like us to do this, so kind of join together and save the lake.
Yeah. And the select board was very supportive of their efforts in Boscawen.
Okay.
And I think Boscawen gets they get 100% of whatever the land use change taxes. Well, we don't do that, I think.
We
Now we
actually do now.
We do that now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we didn't for a long time.
We didn't.
Yeah.
That was, I want to say it was 2 years ago
Yeah.
that changed.
Yeah.
But it was put on the warrant, I believe, at 50% and amended on the floor to be 100%.
That's right, I do remember that now. So we have a lot of people in this town that are very conservation conscious.
Yep. Okay, so any other board comments or questions?
What took so long to bring this in front of us, considering that the bid is due on the 8th? Was it just something that was missed? Because I don't feel that that gives a lot of time to, make it out there for everybody so they don't think that it's something, behind the scenes in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak as well to the timeline.
So,
I would actually like to feel part of that, and that some of the reason that they are not bringing it until now is procedural and process and trying to figure out what the correct method is, and different readings of the RSAs and so on, and how that was supposed to go forward. So that's been a process for both the town administration, NHMA's been involved, so a lot of different moving parts. So they wanted to bring it to us sooner. We had the request for, I don't remember when the meeting was, but at least sometime earlier last month for a meeting like this, but it wasn't yet actually appropriate in the scope of, or we didn't think it was appropriate in the scope of timings. With that said, I'll let Chris continue if she'd like to.
yeah, just a little bit of history on that. I mean, you're right, the process has been, the learning curve has been a little bit on the steep side for all of us. But a number of months ago, we did hear about this opportunity to put in a bid, but at that time, our focus was entirely on the Wetland Ordinance. And people felt overwhelmed enough with the Wetland Ordinance that, folks said, we have a few months, we can deal with this in a few months. And so now it looks like the Wetland Ordinance is, it's gone through all of its hearings and things have settled down, and frankly, we have the time to follow through now.
Okay. Any other further board comments or questions? All right. So with that, as I normally do, I'm going to open it up to people. I do want to remind everybody, this is not the public hearing for this. That is the Conservation Commission's meeting tomorrow. So that is not this meeting, but please. Yes.
Can I speak from here? I might fall over. I'm Betsy Janeway and on Tyler Road, and I have been receiving letters of support from Webster residents, and more of them are coming in every day. These are some of them, emails. I've been trying to copy the emails, but I didn't copy them very well. When I copy them better, I can leave them with you.
You could actually just forward them over to Dana and he can make sure we all get them.
Okay, people know that conserving this land is good for everyone in town. So the Conservation Commission is doing everything it can to do this. It's a really good thing we're doing for the whole town of Webster. And I hope you will give us your support. Thank you.
Thank you. I see a hand in the back.
I got two questions. One is, I'd like to know what conservation is looking to buy. Are they trying to buy everything down there?
So the particular property that is mentioned and is the largest piece of property that was put up to bid, I believe, from Boscawen is plot 6-6. And they've given us a map. It looks like you've got one now too. So it is next to land that the town owns, which is 6116, which is just above it on the map.
Okay, and my second question is, I'm kind of confused on them asking you for permission to buy it. I know in the past, like this last piece that we do own now down there, went to town meeting to buy. So I'm kind of confused on why they're asking this board for permission to buy it.
Sure.
And I did hear you make the comment that it was new what did you call it, not 91As, but RSAs, is why they were so long bringing this forward to the townspeople?
Not new RSAs, but just the way that we were reading through it, everybody had different interpretations, so we had to get NHMA and involved and stuff to sort that out.
So why are they asking you permission to buy it?
Sure.
And not going to town meeting?
So the town meeting portion is not really required. As part of granting the Conservation Commission the ability to maintain a fund for the purposes of conserving land, they have the right as the Conservation Commission to vote on and expend the funds from that for that purpose. That doesn't actually involve us. However, since they're going to do it as a bid for purchasing the land for the town, we are, as the select board, are the ones that have the authority to allow and accept land as the town. So it's their money, their budget, they could use it however they vote to see fit, but for it to come into the town as town-owned property, that requires the select board's approval.
Well, if you go back to, I believe it was 2020, when it was brought to town meeting to take 100% of the current land use money to give conservation, Chris Shadler made the comment, somebody asked, what was this money used for? It's in the town report. She commented that money was to be used for people that wanted to put their land into conservation. It was to help them survey their land.
That is
There was
one
no
of the
mention
purposes it
about
can
buying
be used
land.
for, yes.
That's in the town report.
So,
There's no
The-
mention about buying land with that money.
so the legal application of that fund is determined and defined in the RSAs.
Well,
And that is one of the things that can be done, another is purchasing of land.
don't you think that's pretty deceiving to the town voters when they vote for this article? When they ask the question what that money's for, and they don't get the honest answer at town meeting when they're making a vote for that article?
So I want to stop you there. It is fair to say that not every possible purpose of the fund would have been mentioned. It is also fair to say that the most common expected uses of the fund would have been mentioned, which are to find ways to help people put their land in conservation. In this case, they have a not necessarily common ability to possibly purchase a piece of property to put it in conservation, which may not have even been thought about when that was happening. I'm not going to try to argue for or against any of that, other than to say that it has passed and the RSAs say that this is an allowable use. So you can take that as you like, but this is not the appropriate time and place for trying to make an argument against past town meeting votes, because they have happened.
All I'm talking about was transparency. Was not done.
All I can say is we try to move forward and do the best we can now, which is what I believe we're trying to do here. I saw another hand, a couple other hands over here. You had yours up earlier, and then I'll get to you.
Yes, so this is gonna be taxpayer money that's buying this piece of land, is that correct?
Sort of.
Is it, no sort of, is it or not?
So
Is it
it-
taxpayer money that's gonna be buying this piece of land? Whose money is it?
Yes,
Donald
but not
Webster?
your property tax. So all of the money that comes.
It's taxpayer money any way you look at it. Okay, so we're using taxpayer money. Now, we're buying a piece of land with no deeded access to it, okay? You're just sitting here telling us that the public gonna be able to use it. How are they going into it?
So.
How's that gonna
A,
work?
I'm not telling you that the public can use it. And
That's
this
what
is,
we were
this
just
is
told.
not, this is not what the board is talking about at this point in time. That would be an appropriate question for the Conservation Commission at the public hearing tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine.
For this evening, though, to answer your first question about the taxes. In town, we have, of course, everybody pays their property tax.
Yeah.
But when you change the use of land coming out of current
I know
use,
how it all works.
that's land use change tax,
Yep,
and that
It's
is
still-
what goes into this conservation
that's right, but
fund.
it's still taxpayer money. Because I
Correct.
took a piece out and it didn't go to Dave Hemingway or Marlo Herrick, it went to the town of Webster. That's where that piece, that money that came out of the ad valorem tax goes to,
Mhm.
town of Webster.
And that
That's
is correct.
taxpayer money.
That is correct, and
Okay.
as voted at the town meeting, all of those funds are to be transferred from the
So it's
town
still
to the Conservation Commission fund.
Taxpayer money, whether it's in the conservation or the highway department, fire department.
It did come
Police
from
department.
taxation, that is correct.
Okay,
I have to add that a good chunk of that money has been donated to the fund by landowners in Webster.
well,
It's not all,
How
I just
much?
wanted you to know that.
how much is there?
That's actually fair and true. The fund, when it was voted to give all of the land use change tax to the fund, the majority of, and I don't have the figures in front of me, but I do remember that and I wasn't even on the board then, but I do remember that the majority of the amount that's in the fund now was already in it, and they did not get anything out of land use change tax at that time, so that would have, the majority is probably donation. But if one of the Conservation Commission folks would like to speak to that, if they have more accurate figures, please.
Yep.
Donation. I don't know how much has been donated into that fund additionally.
Are you talking about to support this effort?
No, just in general.
Well, there's money.
Oh, yeah.
You can get those numbers, but we
Okay.
don't have them.
And then the
You don't know
access
what
to
it is, do
it.
you?
Yeah,
Do you know the breakdown?
I know what was donated since 2020. There was a $10,000 donation.
so at least since 2020, there's been a $10,000 donation.
So we don't know what the, can I ask
Did
how
you
much
want the
they have?
balance? Or?
Yeah, yeah, well,
Sure.
how much do they have
Yeah,
to
there
work
you go.
with?
Due to the, well, this is public information, due to the fact that they're planning on probably using this number in a bid, I would suggest that we just look at it, and people are able to request that as well, but I don't want to broadcast that out on YouTube at this point.
A good idea. Thinking, Dave. Public knowledge, but.
Yes, so anyone can go request this from Dana, but I don't want to be broadcasting that to everyone and everywhere. So the next person with his hand up over here.
David Nesbitt, Tile Road. I'd like to speak in favor of this piece, and would also make just a couple quick comments. One, it is a very unique body of water. It is one of the few largely undeveloped bodies of water in central New Hampshire. Most any place else you go, you'll see it's going to be pretty well lined with cottages, jet skis, big boats, and all the resulting pollution, sewage leakage, etc. So this is one way of keeping that from happening. To its recreational facilities, it is accessible via water. On the Boscombe side, there is a put-in, and I have kayaked right up through and along the area that goes through right up to Water Street, so that is something that is certainly accessible to the public, even if it may not be accessible directly by land, it is that area. And third, in terms of Mr. Pearson's comment, I would think that, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, no one knew this opportunity might come up. One of the things that is hallmarks of our democracy and our town meeting and our commission setup is to be able to react to things as they happen. When, something comes up that gives the town an opportunity to be preserving a rather unique piece of land that will contribute to all of us, I would think that's something that maybe if it wasn't first on our list of things to do, would certainly be considered and approved. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to help clarify that differing point, which a couple people were mentioning, even if we say no, that we don't want this to happen, the Conservation Commission can still go put in a bid and purchase the land. They just can't do it on behalf of the town unless we say yes. So I just want to point out that as a clarification, that we're only talking about we as a town would then accept and be supporting that bid. That's all that this particular point is about. I thought there was somebody else first, but I don't see another hand, so please.
Roy Fanjoy. So what you're saying is that if they did put in a bid and it was accepted, then it may not be accepted by the town?
No, what I'm saying is that if we said no tonight,
Yeah.
then we have said that we don't want the bid to be on behalf of the town,
Okay.
which means they can't purchase the land for the town to
Yeah.
put into conservation. They could decide to purchase it for another conservation entity to put into conservation,
Okay.
or any other manner of things. They can still use all of the funds in the conservation
Yeah.
fund, even if we did not approve it.
Yeah. Even though they're looking at lowballing this with the price, you know, it's below what the minimum bid is. I still think it's a good idea if the town did go for it. Okay? As the gentleman explained, you can get to the property by a canoe, kayak, small boat to get in there. So it is not totally landlocked. We do have access to that property. So I'd say go for it. As our select women stated, they may not even accept it, but it's there.
All right. I know she's already spoken, so I'll let somebody else if they, all right, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one quick thing about the value of it, and using it and walking on it, and it isn't the only value that it offers to the town. Because just preserving it is keeping is helping to conserve water, it's helping with all manner of wildlife, and so recreating around it, I mean, that piece of property is gonna help to keep the whole rest of the lake clean and usable. So the only value isn't being able to walk around on it. I'm just my own personal opinion.
That is correct. And I apologize for looking down here and going to the Conservation Commission section of our website, because I believe, even though it's a little bit old, we have a wildlife and habitat map. And let's see. That section is listed as wet meadow, shrub, wetland. Oh, this is the, yeah, with forest cover, and considered to be one of the better habitat areas for wildlife. So it does fall definitely within the things that the Conservation Commission is mentioning at this point. And they have had mapping done at least as far back as December 2011, stating that and showing it. Any other comments or questions from the board at this point, now that we've had more? All right, I'll go back to
So, if
the
we
public.
do buy this piece of land in conservation, I mean, are you gonna be able to go down there? I'm not a big deer hunter, I do go hunting once in a while, but not every whatever. But are people gonna be able to go down there and go rabbit hunting and bird hunting? And if they wanted to walk in to go fishing,
Yes.
But I think you can only get there by boat, though. You won't build a walk-in, though, right?
you can put a fish pole and a gun in the boat.
You could, you could.
And
But don't fall out, that would be expensive.
I'm the caretaker to some abundant land there, so.
You're good.
I just wanted to say a word for the loons. they nest a stone throw from this land, right out in the marsh, right off this piece of property. And they really need to have their privacy respected. And they're an important part of our wildlife. Also, there are endangered orchids that are in this same watershed in the area. There's rose pogonia and there's aranthusa, both of which are endangered orchids. So we're protecting not just water, but the limbs.
And thank you, that's definitely important, but I again want to try to focus on the fact that most of what we're hearing is appropriate for the Conservation Commission's public hearing tomorrow evening, not necessarily this decision here. It's great hearing that so many people are in support and that people have questions that we're trying to answer. But I believe you had another question over here before I go back.
No, the public access to it is
Okay.
how I want, that's my big question, as to how people are gonna get there. 'Cause I own quite a bit of land around it, and they're not walking on that. That's that.
I don't know if the Conservation Commission knows the answer to this question or not, but I know that Boscawen has a road down to this area and this lake from their side. Does that go to the abutting land that we own, or is it into property that is publicly accessible from them through the property that we own to then go to this? Or,
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's on the other side, the public access is on the other side of the lake from this
Correct.
property. So I'm not sure.
well, because we own the property that it goes from this to the Boscawen border as the town. And so I'm wondering if
Oh, I see what you're saying.
town-owned access joins up with public access on the other side. But, yes,
It's marshy, so it's not something that's easily traversable.
that makes sense.
The other thing I wanted to say, and this is just sort of because, you know, I've been talking to a lot of people in Boscawen about their process, including the town administrator, you know, all sorts of people over there. What was really important for the water precinct to see is that the select board was totally behind the Conservation Commission. And I can't stress this enough, how important it is for us to get your full support if we can get it.
All right,
That will really help us. Thank you.
thank you.
I have just one thing to say. I think there's a lot of places to park when when Water Precinct used to have a place. I don't remember the name of the road. I should know it, but I don't. But there's a place that everybody can put their boat in on that side of the, if they want to put a boat in the lake.
Too bad the Webster residents wouldn't allow you to use their piece in Webster.
I couldn't hear you.
It's too bad the Webster residents wouldn't let you use that private road in there.
Well, that is the nature of a private road. You had another comment?
Yeah, I do. The road that's going into this piece of land, I logged the piece for the town of Boscawen years ago. And the way we came out, you're crossing over, we went right out Walker Pond Road with it. And the road that's going in it, where the landing is on that piece of land. But you're crossing over other people's property to get to it. There's no access to it. So the road going in, you gotta get permission. And I'm just saying that if we're gonna be buying a piece of land, if somebody's gonna be going in there and walking, looking at the birds or whatever, how are you getting there, other than a boat?
So again, I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but that is something to be brought up at the Conservation
Yeah.
Commission's public hearing tomorrow. Tonight, it's, will we as the town back the Conservation Commission to allow them to make the bid in our name instead of other conservation organizations' name, if they've got a backup? I don't know, but, you know, and I think that me personally, and that now I'll start with the board here. Me personally, I think that it would just be silly to allow them to spend the money and not allow them to do it to purchase for the town. So I would be in favor of us allowing them to go forward with their process through the public hearing and then their bid. That's me. I don't know what the rest of the board has to say.
I'm for that too. I like to see that lake stay the way it is, and I know Bosco's worked really hard to get the land that they have, so we should do our part too.
And I'm against it, majorly because it's so last minute, number one, where I know tomorrow they're having a public hearing, which hopefully people saw, and then the bid's due the next day. And that there's also the amount that is, supposed to be required. I know they were saying where it could change because they can accept or not accept the bid. But I don't feel we get enough information out to the townspeople to be for it. So I'm against it.
So I guess my question is, and I'll just ask you this because based on what you said, with that it makes it sound like you're thinking that we are kind of gatekeeping the money for the townspeople, but that's what the townspeople have entrusted the Conservation Commission to do with that
Right.
fund, and they said they voted unanimously on it. So are you saying that even if they go purchase the property, we should not accept it as the town?
Well, my vote stands as, I believe that, in a case of where it's property that's not accessible, that's the way I feel.
Okay. So, do we have any further questions or comments before we try to make a motion here to put everything on the books? All right. So let's go ahead and make this official one way or another. I would like to move that we accept the process and support the Conservation Commission in holding their public hearing and using the conservation funds as voted on at town meeting and pursuant to the RSAs to
Second.
make this bid.
I'll second it.
All right, and we'll just do the roll call then.
Nay?
Yes,
Yes.
so it passes 2-1.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you have any further, go ahead.
Could we possibly get a letter of support from you all by Wednesday?
We should be able to write up what the results and stuff are to allow you to send on with that.
Okay, a couple of embellishments, like it's really important to conserve places and that kind of thing. Great.
All right, so thank you all for coming if that's what you were here for. If you have further questions, comments on that, whether they should be bidding on it or not, etc., all of that is tomorrow night's public hearing with the Conservation Commission. So moving on to our next appointment.
Your next appointment is not here, Dave.
Is not currently present.
She's rescheduled because of illness.
Reschedule as
Thank you.
available. Okay. So,
Because of the what?
illness.
Illness.
Oh, illness, oh, sorry.
So we are sorry to hear that. Hope she gets better quick. So that moves us on to the next appointment, which is budget presentations. And I don't happen to have the order of which those were to proceed with me here, so.
I think the first one I had was the library.
Library, all right. Is that mic actually on? Doesn't look
I
like
can't
it.
see, your mic, I think your mic's not on.
Oh,
I
probably
see a
not.
little red light.
Sorry.
weeks.
It's inexpensive.
That was last year.
Oh. Thank you.
Last year's. 421 I have.
All right, take it away. So, here's our new budget. And if you have any questions on it, fire them away.
So this is last year's, this is what they
Yeah,
had in the budget,
this was last
50,000,
year's.
and now you're looking for 53,000.
Right.
Okay.
Let's see. I'll actually ask to start with the income. I see there's allocation and invest Inc. Can you describe those?
Yeah, it's because for the last 2 years, we have taken too much money from the town because the town.
I can't hear you, Marty.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Use your mic. Sorry.
So what happened was that we got the $4,500, which we shouldn't have gotten from the town because we take that out from our investment. We have about $150,000. And so what I've been using for years is basically our interest, our 3% interest. But for the last 2 years, the town was paying me, and I did not realize, neither did, since Wendy wasn't here. And so anyway, I talked with Wendy about it, and we're simply going to, basically, we're going to reduce the town's allocation, which would have been, you have the numbers.
The total 53?
Yeah, right. Actually, what our budget really was for the last 2 years, because we didn't change it last year, our total we were looking for was just under 50,000. So now it will go up to 53,000. However, we're asking for less from the town because we have more, basically, payback from town. So that's why it's the 13,500.
And is that 13,500 what you're expecting in interest for this year, or is it trying to make up for
No,
the
it's,
past?
the interest would be 4,500. However, there's about an extra $9,000 in our bank account right now, so that's what we're going to use. We're going to spend that. So, I mean, we could have simply, I talked to Wendy about it, and she felt that it was much easier if we just did this, just basically take it out of our account as we use it, rather than pay the town $9,000 and have the town come back. And so it really doesn't make much difference. Just, I think it's easier to just do it this way. However, other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. Salary goes up. You know, most of it's up because of the cost of living increase.
So, I don't understand, we're supposedly getting less money from the town, but on here, where is it less money that we're getting from the town?
So
the
this is the
allocation.
total,
Yeah, that's the total, that's
and then at
expenses,
the
right?
top is how to get that. And invest is what they're putting in, and allocation is what they're asking
What
from
the
the
town.
town.
Yeah,
Instead of the
So it would be
49.
approximately 10,000 less than
Oh,
the
okay.
previous year that they're asking for from the
All
town.
right, okay, now I got you. Thanks, sorry, slow up the boat here.
And so next year, I mean, obviously, we can't predict interest and inflation and all that fun stuff, but next year you would expect that the allocation, the investment portion would be about 4,500?
About 4,500, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's 3% of the 150,000 that we have.
Okay.
Which we've kept fairly steady, over the years.
All right. I don't have any questions. Does anybody else?
No, you answered my question, that's okay with me.
All right. How have you had the How have you found the uptake on your newer programs, especially with the pandemic for, I can't even remember the name of it, but my wife liked it. Hoopla. Mhm. And are there other similar items as well, or anything upcoming that we should look at?
There's one through the state library system that we've had for a long time. It's called Overdrive.
Overdrive?
The difference between the two of them is that if a new book comes out, Overdrive will have 2 copies that can be borrowed. Hoopla has as many copies as you want, so you don't end up on a wait list with Hoopla that you would on Overdrive, which has made it very popular. And Overdrive has, Hoopla has magazines and movies and TV shows, and it's like a streaming service, basically.
Yeah, so if you like things like Netflix, it won't be the same shows, obviously, or the same movies, but make sure you check out the library's Hoopla service, because they've been providing that, and it works pretty decently, and you don't have to pay for it. So, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
And was Marty next?
Yes,
All right.
Energy Committee is next.
So
Do
sorry,
we have
Marty, we're
to-
gonna have to keep you there.
Look at
The energy.
You
I
did
know
your-
this one is
Yeah.
the biggest line
Last
item
year.
ever.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be this year.
That was last year. And also, that was the membership
Oh
amount.
my.
Okay, perfect.
And
Yeah.
50/50.
this was the conference that you attended.
Okay. So I'm going to hand these over to Marty, because
Yeah.
that's our documentation. But that's, we paid that through the town, based on the conference and our membership.
Right.
And I know in the past, we just kind of leaned on the fact that you were a personal member, and that was good enough from the organization. So I think we should probably look at incorporating this into the energy budget to make it more.
So how much do you think? I mean, I would ask for 500 for the season, for the year, so that can cover any one of our.
Because it might be more than just, you or I.
That's
that
right,
goes.
and yes, because there are others, other than that one that we both went to, there are others. So I would say, put 500 in, and if we don't use 500, that's one that goes back to the town.
Right. So to be clear, that will show up as a large percentage change, because we've always asked for 50 and basically never used it as the Energy Committee, of which I've now been a member for a couple of years. So if you hear me commenting on it, that's why. But the $50 was always to allow for people to go to these sorts of conferences and similar. And so now it makes, especially as these are more targeted and more informative and more helpful specifically towards the town and the things we can do for the town, I think it's even more appropriate that the town actually do the memberships for it, just like, for example, Conservation Commission or the Planning Board, or even the town within HMA are members of equivalent organizations. But if we do that, then of course the percentage goes up here, but we were actually paying for things like this already. They were just
You were
in, for
paying it out of
example,
other accounts.
yeah, they were being paid out of random accounts, like executive training, for example. And so I think towards the point of making things as transparent as possible and as obvious as possible in the budget, I think it makes sense to put that in the Energy Committee budget.
So what if we did 250?
So 250 is at least this year, was the cost of a municipal membership towards the group.
Okay.
And then it was however much else is on there. I think it was like 100
Oh,
something
Yeah,
for
yeah,
both
the
of us to
municipal-
go.
Yes, municipal membership.
And so everything is,
I mean, it was obviously, That's
So
the
where did,
municipal
so where did that
one,
money come from?
individual.
That was, I don't remember the line item, but it was one of the executive line
It
items.
came out of the executive budget.
And then I think it's going was the executive training, which is well underspent this year, but hopefully with less pandemicness next year, we can have folks like Russ and Dana able to go to more in-person trainings.
And this is
So
also
theirs would
led-
come out of the energy committee, if they went to a thing for the energy committee, it would come out of the energy budget?
You're right.
Yes.
In the past, it has not.
Has not,
but-
right.
There wasn't
But
anything.
yes, it
So
will.
you're trying to get everything like into your own, into the niches that,
Yes.
So what do you spend usually in a year then? I mean, that, I don't even have that in front of me.
Usually it's only been.
No, the amount of money, like you just said, well, that you already spent that on one class, so what is, but it came from another. Am I saying that wrong? Or did I get that right?
No,
You're
so
right.
it came from the,
Yes.
I'll say, for example, and don't quote me that it's exactly that, but the executive training
Yeah.
line item. So it would have come from there instead of from Energy Committee, because, for example, I'm executive, and that's considered kind of executive outreach with the Energy Committee. But now that we've also, for example, voted to make the Energy Committee more official for things like community power and the representation for those sorts of things, I think it's more important that we make sure they actually have the budget and everything is accountable in that correct line item.
And would the other line item be lowered that it came from?
I mean, it would make sense, I
Well,
think.
possibly.
I mean, I
for
think
sure.
I see what you're trying to do, you're just trying to put the money in the right spot,
Right.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Right, and I don't know that I'm against that, especially if it's about what you usually spend. That's why I was asking, what did we spend last year? I don't care where it came from, what
Well,
did we
For
spend?
one thing, it was just me and Dave.
Yeah,
You know, we were the only ones, and there are other members of the Energy Committee, you
Yeah.
know, who I would like to let them come also,
Sure.
if they want to.
sure.
But one of the things is, I think the energy committee may be more busy this year with, when we're gonna think of that solar thing on Deer Meadow Road and all that stuff. I don't know if the energy committee would have some input to go to some of those meetings, or,
Well, they could, but that wouldn't
Wouldn't cost
be
anything.
changing the budget here. But you can see can you just hand Marla?
I think it was
those
about
papers? But
$430.
it's like,
Oh, and that's where you come up with the 500.
it's like $250 for the membership, and I think like $140 for the people to go, or something like that.
Right,
nature.
yeah, well, $70, yeah.
Like $70 each or something.
Okay. That was, I just didn't know I didn't realize that it just came from somewhere else, so.
Well,
You know, as it's been 50 forever, you're just trying to get the money in the
Yeah,
right committee,
it's-
which is fine, and it's not, you're gonna take it from one and put it to here.
yeah, and so in the past, we've kind of used a loophole of the,
Shuffling money.
Well, no, in the past, we've used a loophole of the association, what's the actual name of it? It's the local energy something.
What?
But we've used a loophole of theirs in that.
Yes, local energy.
In the past,
Yeah.
they have, well, first off, Marty's just had a personal membership to it. And since there was a membership, they give us membership rates. They don't do that anymore.
Okay.
So that's one part of it. And the second part is that they also, in the past, like when I first started going to it, if you were a municipal official, they didn't charge you for it. Now they do.
Okay.
So that's why the $50 was actually all we were really using until this year.
I mean, you can't buy much for $50. I get that, I was just
So-
curious, so I'm fine with the $500.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Dee?
yep, no, you're right.
All right.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for taking interest.
And am I finished? Dana?
You're done.
Okay.
Unless you want to talk about the
Nothing to do with the ZBA?
What was that?
The ZBA? I don't have.
Oh, yeah, because there's planning and.
Russ has, yeah, you
But-
can if
but-
you want. Russ gave me that, so,
No, that's okay.
no. This is the health officer, this is Roy
Oh.
Paula. And so this is last year's.
All right, so it looks like health is next.
Come on down,
Yes,
Roy.
it is.
go in the right direction.
That's right.
Oh, these are call
Thank you, sir.
times?
This,
I'm out.
I'll explain it in a moment.
Before the snow gets real deep. Before the snow gets real deep.
Remember, when we had
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Roy Fandroy, Health Inspector.
And just one second, just to remind you that there is the live streaming and the microphone is right up here as well. Just because I know we've got a couple people talking a little bit.
Marty
Make
was
sure they're aware of that.
Marty was just blowing me kisses.
All right, carry on.
Okay, when Paula and I took over as health inspector and deputy health inspector, we spoke to the previous two about the position, and it was gonna be kind of a simple position, not that much of a problem in the town of Webster. Well, we became fast learners. There are a few things cooking in town, and truthfully, I forgot to record some of the stuff on here. I wasn't taking as good of notes, and I should have done timeframes on this. But on this sheet here, you can see I've had 29 incidents. It's ranged from just simple calls about COVID, you know, what can we do, this, that, to condemning a home and several other things. And tonight, I believe I'm gonna be going into non-public with you tonight, and it will be your decision whether you wanna open up those minutes or not later on. But what I'm looking for is the dues that we have to pay to New Hampshire. Dana knows better. It's like $90 for the two of us. And I'm looking to increase the budget to $1,000. Okay, it's taken a lot more time than what was anticipated. So that's why the increase is there.
I might mention Roy's part of this budget is just health administration. The health agencies is a different
Yep.
area.
So, but, you know, we've been doing quite a bit. We still have another inspection, hopefully by the end of this month, that we have to do. So, and there are mandatory classes that we have to take, and those are held by Zoom.
In the description here, it says like septic system, so what, when you get a
It
call
was
for that?
I get a call, do I know where the septic system is?
Okay,
Who do I talk to about a septic system?
okay, okay.
And technically, I can't recommend
Well,
the,
yeah,
you know, I can't say one place over the other.
right.
Consult the yellow pages, speak to your neighbors, you know.
But that was just something we got a
Yeah.
call that somebody said,
Right.
right. Well, okay.
And also, at the end of the year, I'll be bringing Dana the USB chip, and it's gonna have all the reports. You've seen some of the reports I have turned in on different inquiries. I'll call them inquiries. I've turned in to Dana, and he's distributed them to you. He'll have a complete copy of everything that was done this year. Okay, in one file. Right now, he's got things in pieces. Because when I have an inquiry, and if I take pictures, I give you the letter with the pictures and the numbers, everything like that, but everything will be all compressed into one file for you. You open that up and then you get like 10, 12 more files,
Gotcha.
okay?
I guess just on here, you have it budgeted for 220,
No, so health agencies is
Yeah.
not him, it's
Okay.
only the health administration line.
so he had a budget of $350.
And then went to 520,
20.
and he's asking for 1,000, because it's
$1,090.
still more work.
Oh, okay, oh, okay.
It's a lot
Yeah.
more.
Oh, okay, because we're almost done with 2021, okay, that's what my
Yeah,
brain was,
That's all
yeah.
right,
Yep, so you want to take it from 520 to 1,000,
yeah.
okay.
Well,
Okay.
It was
1,090,
1020, 1090.
or, yeah, $1090.
$1,090, yeah.
$1,090.
The 90 being the membership
Sure.
fee at New
Yep.
Hampshire,
Does the $90 fee cover both of you? Or is it
Excuse me?
90 Does the $90 fee cover both of you? or
Yes,
is
it's
it each?
$45 a piece.
Okay, perfect.
this week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this week.
All right. Any other questions on what's been presented to us?
No, I know we have two professionals doing this job, so they do a good job, so.
Well, we're trying.
I know you are. I've known you way too long, but no.
So, and Tara, I apologize for not giving you a copy of the letter. I know,
That's okay,
so,
thank you.
I had an inquiry, and you get the report.
All right.
Okay, any other questions?
I think we're good. Make sure that that's in there.
For now.
Spreadsheet for the request when
You never know.
Look it over.
That's the problem with budgeting something like this, right?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Roy. Thanks,
Well,
Bob.
that's why it's a yearly stipend and not hourly.
I was gonna say.
I'm sure they would appreciate hourly, but
Yeah,
I don't think the townspeople's
He's as
budget.
bad as I am, they're working for nothing.
So do we-
Even if I accounted for each call only being an hour, and I just threw it through the calculator, it was about $17 an hour.
Yeah.
So, and most of those calls are definitely not hour-long calls. They're definitely a lot longer.
Most of the job is donations to the town from them. They're donating their time.
It's a write-off.
Uh-huh.
We
So do we
appreciate
have to do
that.
anything on that? Or we just?
Well, right now, we're just accepting everything that they
Okay, gotcha,
are,
gotcha.
you know, talking about. And
Yep.
then when we go through our whole budget and kind of finalize things, then we
We're just got the
approve or
library.
not or whatever.
Yep,
and
gotcha.
Suggest changes back if we need to. But Dana will make sure that when we get that full spreadsheet, it'll reflect the requests.
Gotcha. Thank you, Dana.
All right.
This
All right,
is,
now we're looking at-
Russ asked me to present this for him. This, Russ, the proposed budget for the planning board and the ZBA. Basically, the largest change is the reduction in the legal line from 5,900, that was a request last year, to 3,000 this year, or reduction of 2,900, and that was due to the Wetlands Ordinance last year, and we won't have that this year. He's also reducing the newspaper notices by 250. He is increasing supplies by $100, and he's decreasing publications by 50.
Out of
I
curiosity,
mean, increasing publications by 50. So the total net change is $3,000.
the notices, what's behind the change in that? Because we know the Concord monitors don't cheaper.
Yeah, so I can actually answer that one. The requirements for notifications used to say it had to be put into newspapers of circulation.
Yeah.
They've changed the RSAs so that normal notices like we do for those public hearings and
Online.
stuff, most of them, the website counts as one, hanging it up counts as one, the grapevine would count as one.
Gotcha.
But I think they still only need two, just like we do for a normal public hearing
Okay.
or public meeting. So it's not that newspapers are cheaper, it's that less things have to go in the newspaper.
Right.
Yeah, they don't have, usually, well, they used to make these long things in the newspaper years ago. They were huge
Mhm.
column, and they made money on those, and now they don't have to do that either.
Mhm.
Good, that's a fun budget right there.
Yeah, right. Looks good to me. Next victim. Thank you.
Milo.
Yes, thank you, sorry.
Thank you. What I just handed you there is in the financial budget. And specifically, this is the tax collector's figures that we're talking about only. So the tax collector is suggesting an increase in her stipend from $15,796 to $16,270, and an increase in the deputy and tax collector salary stipend from $684 to $720. The other items she has kept the same. It is a $510 difference.
And the stipend, explain that line a little bit again.
The stipend is what?
Oh, that's her salary. Oh,
And that's a 3% raise.
that word, I like salary.
Yeah.
Stipend, it feels like.
Salary, not in a salary.
Yeah, so that's the generic 3% raise that
Gotcha.
most people like to try to put in.
Mhm.
So I think I'm the only one that didn't go up on the budget by the sound, huh? I'm in the wrong boat.
So, okay, that's what's being presented. We'll see how that goes. Did we have another budget one?
The police chief, I believe, wants to present to you his updated.
All right, come on up, sir.
Where is that? David.
The red one.
I knew it was here.
Hi, hello.
Howdy. You'll be next
Haven't seen you in a
anyway,
while.
so-
So I figured I'd just stay up here. Anyway, I have someplace, I just have to figure where to put them. So basically, this is just, I mean, we've gone over this budget already. But I know after having conversations, we talked about adding money to the ammo line because of the huge increase that they've gone. I mean, right now ammo's up 200% from what we paid last year.
Oh, my God.
And that's, I've made phone calls trying to get some, and they said there's a year waiting list, if they're lucky. They've got orders that are a year old that they still haven't filled. And they still owe us one case of rifle ammo from last year that they just don't have.
How
What is
come
your,
they can't fill it? Is that no workers or? I don't
There's
know.
such a huge demand right now.
That's,
Plus, a lot of the ammo's going to the civilian market because the civilian market pays way more than we do. I mean, I gotta admit, we get it pretty cheap compared to what it's selling for on the open market right now.
what is your inventory of ammo?
I try to keep a year ahead, so I ordered more last year.
I haven't gotten
you-
it.
Actually, the board let me spend an extra $1,000 last year. So we're good, we'll be good for, I would think for this year and probably most of next year. And then if it doesn't come by then, I'll have to tap into my own resources at my own house to bring it in,
Right.
until we can replace it.
I mean, some of this craziness that we're going through, and we're all going through it, I mean, different, you guys ammo, us parts, I don't know, I don't know really, but, or increase in wages, which we've all chatted about,
Mhm.
which it's not gonna be here forever. The problem
No.
is knowing how long it's going to be. And that'll be the same for ammo, where they'll get it, but I don't know that they'll ever sell it to you the price they're doing now, which probably not, but.
Probably not, but I don't think it's gonna go up as much, because we don't pay the federal excise tax, which helps us quite a bit. And they try to put us in the leading edge of getting ammo, but if they don't have it, they can't even dole it out.
Right.
Yeah, and is it fair to say that you're basically just maintaining that your buffer in case you can't get it? So it really is the amount of ammo you're using and expecting to use in the year
Right.
that's budgeted.
And we have a certain criteria that we have to qualify with at the police academy, and they've kind of scaled that back now so that we can qualify with less ammo. So we've gone from 2 to 3 qualifications a year down to 1 with less ammo, so that just to conserve it. And if you shoot at the academy, you have to use a special ammo, it's frangible, you have to use it indoors, which is twice the cost of regular ammo, so, and thank God we ordered some of that. I ordered some of that 2 years ago, anticipating what was coming on, so we should be good with that.
All right, were there other adjustments since the last time we talked?
Just, the only other adjustments were wages that we had talked about.
Okay.
So the budget, my budget is actually up 1%, which equates to $2,282.85 over last year.
Okay. While we have you here, looking at the overall budgets, when we got that report at the end of November, it looked like you generally had very healthy amount left for part-time wages and reasonable for overtime. It looked like full-time officer wages were a lower percentage than I would have expected at this point. Are you expecting to need to overdraw that line because you didn't have full, part-time officers, a full complement of them all year? Or?
We haven't, that's the reason why we didn't spend it all. So what I'm gonna do is that'll be turned back in at the end of the year. I'd like to keep the same amount for next year, only to maintain it, so, and I got another officer coming on, so hopefully we can get more hours onto the street. But what I don't use, I turn back in, so that'll help offset.
So are you expecting though that you'll end up having to go over the budget line item for full-time this year? Or, I mean,
I don't think
obviously
so.
your whole budget will
I think it's gonna be
offset
pretty
itself
close.
healthily, but-
The full-time salary right now, I got 4.86%, so that's gonna be tight. But I've got extra in overtime, I've still got 58% of my part-time budget left. So
overall budget.
my overall budget's gonna be way under.
Mhm. All right, I just wanted to make sure, because if we're looking at, you know, the wages, for example, for full-time, like, did we end up with more there than we expected because we wouldn't have had them working as much? Or?
Right.
Okay. So the normal budget and going forward from that to the next year makes sense. Okay, thank you. Any other further questions?
Would it make any sense to carry over some of his budget to next year? Or is that just as easy to put it back and then redo the whole thing?
The only thing that we can do for carryovers is if there's a purchase order that exists, then there's a legal process for that.
Okay.
But it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna move the money over.
Yeah, right, to carry it over for the next,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Well, that's what we had talked about. You had talked about taking $500 out of my budget that I already, because I had plenty left over, and prepaying for ammo.
Mhm.
But if I'm not gonna get it for a year, I'm gonna put the $500 in my budget, because if my budget was 5 or 6%, I would say, yeah, let's hold it over, or try to pay for it this year. But, I'm only up just over $2,000. So that's not a huge increase.
Yep.
But we can do it another way if you want. I can deduct that 500 and we can take it out of this year's budget, and I can prepay it, but
And it's just,
I'd rather-
I'm forgetting, what's the name for that process?
Encumbrance.
Encumbrance,
Yeah.
thank you.
my only fear is that would be paying it to one company, and I've got dibs out to like 3 or 4 different companies. I'm trying to find ammo,
Yeah.
and it's gonna go to the first one that I can get it from.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember the name for the process so anyone can go find it if they want to look at it. But if you want to move something from, like if you want to use something from this year's budget next year, it has to be done through the encumbrance process for an existing purchase order that
Oh,
you're
okay.
paying. All right.
Dave, I'm thinking that you have heard from all the departments now. I will tabulate this in our spreadsheet that we have at the next meeting. I'd like to bring it back to you to re-discuss. And as I've encouraged through this budget season, I'd like to invite department heads back in when you're ready to make a final decision. And I know I'm being a little Pollyannish, but I'd love to be done the budget by mid-January.
That would be nice.
And I know I have time, but I think that would be a goal.
Mhm.
Good goal.
And that makes sense because we should have the CIP report to look at so we can look at the budget as a whole, including our finance.
You will have a few visits from the health agencies that will be coming in to present their budgets to you, but they'll be coming in the beginning of January.
And those are more the like membership and community programs that are
It's
basically a
things
set
like the
amount.
visiting nurse and the CAP program and things like that.
All right. Thank you. Do we have any other budgets or similar?
No.
All right, that moves us to department head reports.
Well, I might as well jump right into it then.
Go for it.
So, as of 11/24, so that was a week ago, a little over a week ago, we still had $46,801.50 remaining in my budget, which is 15.79% remaining, so I still got quite a bit left out of a $296,000 budget. And actually, calls for November were down. We were down to 30 calls. I'm sorry, 39 calls, which is pretty good. Normally you're on 60 and better, so it was a fairly quiet month, and I'm happy about that. December holds the same way. But we had 31 motor vehicle stops, $1,047.80 in fines, 6 summonses, 4 arrests with 9 charges. But the charges are the only thing that kind of starts to get to me. We had simple assaults, false imprisonment, endangering the welfare of a child, criminal restraints, witness tampering, and breach of bails. So it's not like it's minor infractions. Number of calls, and I got them listed in the sheet that I passed out. But it's usually the same calls. We have pretty much a repetitious on calls. You know, suspicious vehicles, sex offender registrations, motor vehicle accidents.
Helping me.
Assist the fire department and EMS because they help us. Lost properties, animal complaints, police information. So it's pretty much the same calls every month. And hopefully there's nothing anymore that are bad for that. We had training this past weekend, which was pretty good training. It was dealing with suicide and PTSD within the workplace, first responders. That would have been a good one for you to go to, and citizens, and transitional leadership training. Other than that, it was fairly quiet for the whole month, so I'm kind of hoping December will follow suit. We can round it out at the end of the year. It was a quiet year.
Any questions? All right.
It's like you.
So we'll start with the firehouse. I got this paperwork from Wendy today. We have $11,664.04 left in that
Can
budget.
you all hear him okay?
I can, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, there's $11,664 left in the fire budget. So we'll get through the officer's stipend and the membership stipend. We use up quite, at least half of that. And then the folks have a wish list. We went to Salisbury the night before Thanksgiving for a second alarm building fire. We sent 3 pieces up there. They were staffed real well. We had plenty of help, plenty turnout from our town, and gave them a good hand up there and got a good stop on the fire. It came in as an appliance fire, which was a dryer. And usually you get there and it's just nothing, but when I think I was there within 4.5 minutes, and had fire coming out both windows in the L coming up, and we went second alarm right off, and it was a good knockdown. Got it out. So we went up to help them. Other than that, we had a real good training 2 Wednesday nights ago with air packs. I guess it was a Wednesday night before we went up there. Well, it was a Wednesday we went up there. It was a Wednesday night before that. We had a good air pack training and truck check last week. And some things are well at the firehouse.
I have just something, not on the fire department, but before I forget it, which
Yeah.
is road agent type. Do you know that there's, coming from Fanjoy's house to my house on the right-hand side, there's like a tree that evidently was cut, but now it sticks way out in the road, like truck height. Now, my car can sneak under, but, you know, I wished it was cut back more.
Well, how come I didn't see that? I went up there 100 times today.
I don't know, maybe because you're in a big truck, I don't know, but
I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
kind, like, it's been cut already, but it
Yeah?
should be cut back farther, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, well, I'll get on to that when I get.
Yeah, but that's,
on.
I just,
So,
because
yeah.
I'm gonna forget, and there's something else I wanna say now, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
'cause
but-
Phil called today, because there was one that broke over, the wind blew over on the dump road, and we went and pushed over with the backhoe because it was too dangerous to cut, but, there was another thing at the firehouse. Dee, with your paper, a lot of these private roads in long driveways,
Yeah,
they're getting grown way in, and it takes a toll on the mirrors of the fire trucks. And the ladder truck comes automatic from Tookie on chimney fires.
oh,
And, well, they have for years, and that, and we're asking for them to, it's beating stuff up.
oh,
the
yeah,
last
can
couple
you
of-
get somebody
so-
write up something for me? I'll be
Yeah.
glad to put it in.
Okay.
So I did the road thing for you too, figuring, I don't know if I did, I was from the other
Oh,
couple
it
of
was
years
great.
ago,
Yeah,
but I didn't have time, it was late at
yeah,
night.
but, we could get something together in that.
Yeah,
and get it in
sure.
the paper, so people, you know, it grows in, and they're in a little car, and they don't realize about the,
I know, I have one of those driveways.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
growing
a
in.
lot
Yes,
of
it is.
people do, and, it's,
Yeah, that'd be good, whatever you can write up, just send it to me.
Sure.
I'd love to have stuff every month from the fire department, if you get somebody to
Okay.
write it, that'd be great.
can do that.
Okay, appreciate that.
Any other questions? We did, one of our members did pass with flying colors, last Saturday, his EMR class.
Awesome.
So, that added to our rescue part. He's a lieutenant on our department. And, so he, just finished that up. That was quite a class, and, a lot of time away from his family, and Saturdays and a couple of nights a week for the last 4 months. So that was awesome. Yeah, other than just everyday stuff at the firehouse and. So block grant has $5,940 left in that. General maintenance, after Wendy did that today, I think she said there was, with them bills, there'll be around 10 grand left in that, if I recall, after the bills that she got in, so, that's what's that. We have finished with our roadside mowing, and we've been around 3 or 4 days last week on good days, and got a bunch of the brush chipped up, and then chipped a bunch of the stuff that was too big to get with the machine. Down on Beaver Dam out back there, all them birches in the winter, they would come in and break the mirrors and the strobe lights and stuff on the truck. We got rid of all them, and the box trucks can go out there, and we did quite a bit down through Deer Meadow Road. Centennial Drive, where the birches came in, we got a lot out through there. So we're gonna be out chipping tomorrow and a couple of nice days this week, just to clean up the stuff that the machine broke down, that's gobbed up beside the street, and then, a lot of the littlest stuff that we can get to, it really opens it up. I've got a lot of good comments on, how well it goes, and then other than I don't know, we plowed a couple inches of snow the other morning to clean things up, and did a little sanding this morning, just regular general maintenance, and yeah,
They look pretty good. How are you feeling about the, all of the preparations for winter at this point? Everything is good?
Oh, yeah, no, we're in good shape. We've got the plows cleaned up, cutting edges. Well, we did a lot of them last fall because they were ready for the cutting edges. But no, things are good. The trucks are all in good shape. Yeah, no, we're ready to go. All we need now is winter. We got 3 storms.
We don't need that now, never. I know what I forgot to tell, there's some holes.
There's 2
those-
potholes down there, and when it
And I-
dries out, Larry loves the coal patch, so he'll be out to see it.
That was my second thing I remembered, I just remembered, speed bumps.
Concord Drive, I mean, I scraped that off the other day, and I mean, you can whistle right out through there with the truck, and you put a little sand down, it bears it right up. It's nice down there now.
I agree, it looks great.
Oh,
When I delivered papers, I had to say that
Yeah,
looks great.
no, it is. The road's up where it should be, and I'm proud of how that turned
Yeah,
out.
it came out
And, it will last a long time. And you can whistle right in and out of there, just,
Yeah, thanks. More tickets.
so, Asplin's cutting trees out on the Garrish Road. Saw them out there today when we were out there sanding. Yeah, I've had my weekly meeting with Phil and Steve every Monday morning, or at least Monday, if not Monday or Tuesday, we get together and
Sweet.
yeah, things
Everything's
are,
good.
yeah, no,
Everything's good.
Well, good, well, let's end on that note.
Yeah, I like that. All right.
We don't need to prolong something that's good.
Thank you.
Or if you want to, I didn't mean it that way, you know what I mean?
All right.
Now you can go home.
So, thank you very much.
go home.
4 o'clock comes early.
Next up is our old business. Moves us on to town-owned properties. bid
Yeah, me
openings.
too. Thank you, folks.
Bye, thank you.
These were 2 lots that the board agreed to put out a solicitation for bids on. One is on Rumford Drive, and the other, this is in the Pillsbury Lake District, and the other is on New London Drive. As per the policy, we follow through with sending notices to the abutters. I received 2 bids. One of them is marked with which one it's for, and one of them is not. So, why don't I open the one I know about?
Yeah, why don't we open the one that we don't know, and if it matches, we'll open the other.
All right, fair enough.
Must be contrarian sometimes.
Okay, this is a bid for Rumford Drive, and the Rumford Drive minimum bid was $1,450, which includes the amount that was due in taxes when the property was tax deeded, as well as the amount that has not been collected since the property's been tax deeded. I have a bid, the other one's notice, so this is a different lot. This is 10-5-148. Timothy Perkins has bid $2,000. He lives at 75 Rumford Drive, Webster. So, and a butter.
That is in the butter, okay. And, we've got one bid, so
But we don't know what that one goes to.
Well, I'll read this one.
that was the one that we did.
Oh, we didn't know?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So the other one is the same or different property?
This is a different property.
Oh, that makes
And
sense.
let me
Oh,
just-
I get you.
Let
So
me
it's
just
one
make
each.
sure of that.
Okay, so this guy, there's only one bid, but it's more
Yes,
than what
this
you
is a
asked for,
different
so,
one.
okay.
Yeah.
Ready when you are.
Do you want me to read this one?
Yeah.
Oh, you want us to guess?
Sorry, I was going in the zone.
I know, boy, it's quiet here.
It was great there, too. This is map 10, lot 6, 64 is for New London Drive. The minimum bid on that was $1,700. I have a bid for $1,782 from Linda McFarland at 56 New London Drive. She's in a butter.
Perfect.
All right. Being that they are both above minimum spec and our abutters as matches our selling of properties policy, I would move that we accept both property bids as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, 2 down.
All right.
All right.
Goody, goody.
While we're on town-owned property and bids, do we have anything else upcoming or worth noting to people?
Well, we do have several properties still in Pillsbury Lake that we need to review that may possibly, these were plots that people showed interest in, which is what brought them to light. So we probably should continue chipping away at it as we go. We do have the most latest properties that were taken. They need to have letters to the former owners, of which 2 of the former owners is kind of problematic because they are deceased. And we don't know who maybe have some interest in it. So the lawyer's been working on that for us. So that will be coming up.
All right. So that moves us on to our other old business, White Plains.
White Plains Road. Okay. As you know, we had received a proposal from Midgie Corp. And this was a proposal for getting us a permit, doing the plans, getting it approved through DES, getting us, and that's all that it covered. 14,000.
So not the culvert itself.
That is not the culvert itself.
Yeah,
The culvert, the construction is totally, we don't have that on this.
Yeah, so for just the engineering.
This is just the engineering study, 14.2. We have also spoken with our bridge engineers who are working on White Plains. No, sorry, Clothespin
yeah.
Bridge, in the wrong place. And I had a meeting via Zoom today with him, and he gave me quite a lot, actually.
What the heck was that?
Ghosts.
Yeah, could be.
You know, I really think that was telling us it's time to go home.
Yep, okay.
It was the clock.
Set with his Zoom meeting.
It was the clock.
Wow.
And I really stressed that what we wanted was so that we could compare apples to apples. He did quite a bit of discussion about what the whole project would cost. And it's not that I wasn't interested in that, but for this, I just really wanted to know what the engineering would cost. So he did send this over to me. It's a little different cost. It's $150,000.
No, more different.
Wow. Pass on to Marlo, appreciate it.
Dana.
Yeah. And I guess that this just came today, and I haven't had a chance to really
Look at it.
think about it a lot. And I'm just wanting to be very sure that there's not things in here that we're not asking for at this point. And that was a little difficult to get to. I would like to have both of these entities come in and talk with you. Because I think that would be worthwhile.
That's fine, it's just, wow. I mean,
Well,
final design services, which, yeah, that was always scary when somebody takes a really long time to get back to you about something and somebody else.
And then it's
kinda-
really big.
Yeah, and pages.
well, and I'm not terribly surprised
Because
you know, with
Well,
a
right.
firm like that.
Yeah, they go through the entire process here, including that they don't even need, public hearings, and it's not required at this point, just one more public
Yeah.
hearing held during a normal meeting.
I had a feeling they had a lot in there that we really weren't asking for.
Yeah, it looks like it, because I know they have hourly charges and travel charges for almost everything. And a lot of this is like, hey, we're gonna go do this, which is not necessarily the same thing. So, yeah, I think we're gonna have to look at these in more detail and have them both come and talk to us.
Yes, I think so.
And, so you're talking.
They're not doing anything this year anyway, so
No,
it's
no,
done.
well, I mean, in theory, they could start looking at stuff or drafting things up. We're not gonna do construction.
Yeah,
right now,
well,
so-
no, that's true.
No, but I
But we
think,
wanna have things available so that it's ready, and that means we need to make a decision, so we
Something,
can
right.
start ordering appropriate culverts and stuff.
I mean, there was lots of things in there as far as meetings, as you said, surveys and right-of-ways. I think we've done quite a bit of that
But-
already.
yeah, it's-
Although I don't wanna, because I think it's done, I don't wanna take that as verbatim if it needs to be done. But I did said that what we're looking for is just to get a permit approved by DES. And of course, there's a little bit to that, and they know how to do it, as the other vendor does as well.
I just don't know if we're not wasting their time and our time.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, if it's that much above,
I don't feel.
I think we wanted to know exactly, kind of, we're supposed to be getting bids, quotes for these things.
Which we did.
And a professional, I'm not saying Minchie's not professional, I'm not saying that.
No, right.
But a company like VHB or Hoyle Tanner or any of those engineering firms cost money. And there's no getting around that.
And apparently, 135,000 more.
Yeah.
let's see
Did I
here.
do my math right?
When we compare these to delineation, analysis, condition survey, point file, AutoCAD base maps, they're assuming field work and the pricing for it. DES permitting and permit fees, geotechnical and subsurface investigations, and the contracted plans, and even an offer for construction oversight to sign off on the whole thing. Like, all of that is in
You're looking at the Minchie.
the Minchie one.
Yeah, which the 800, that would be extra, that's
And-
optional.
Yeah,
It's
and,
not in the
and they're
number.
not, they're not including to come to one of our meetings, for example, and charge us to do that.
Right.
And of course, part of the thing with VHB, like with Clothespin Bridge.
Well, that's a whole nother
but-
project.
But like when they came to present,
Yeah,
they came with 3 different engineers and
Yeah.
a project manager,
Yeah.
and all of the transportation got paid and their hours got paid for the whole
Mhm.
meeting. And so it adds up really quickly versus get the job done,
with what needs to happen there.
which seems
It's-
like it's more of a what needs to get done.
Just
kind
needs to
of
get,
job.
yeah, it's not rocket science. It's quite frankly, not worth
Let's
150,000.
go up there and do it, yeah.
Well, personally, if you could just get on the same page with DES, which is what should have been happening this
Right.
whole
Right.
time,
Yeah.
Right.
we have a very capable person
Yeah.
that can go do it, we believe. I think that's what we're gonna do, but you know
And
what I
I-
mean?
Once
I
DES
explained to
approves
them-
it.
That's right.
DES approves it.
That's right,
So
yeah, so
then we
this,
just do it.
to me, I don't personally need to hear from them. I'm not even saying that, oh my God, this is the one, I'm just saying they are way overpowering us, a very Even though it's a project that's taken way too long, I get it, but this is,
I guess I'm just suggesting that sort of give you every bit of information that I can give you, but I don't necessarily disagree with you.
if it, like that other bridge, that's a whole different world.
Oh,
So-
yeah, Clothespin Bridge is
So-
a way,
so the
it's a
other
major
thing
thing, right?
that it's actually about halfway down the front page for VHB. There's things like, VHB survey team will confirm the Cardigan Mountain Land Survey data and collect additional wetlands delineations as marked by VHB. Whereas, like, those are all official things, so probably Mitchie's gonna say, they've already been done. We'll use them. And we also have additional data, at least supposedly, that has been collected in the process already.
Well, and we've gotten
So-
reference back from DES
Right.
anyways, so they've been there,
Mhm.
they've done
Right.
that.
We have had a conversation with them.
Yeah, and they've got, because I think we got something from them, what they were looking
Yes.
for.
Yes,
So that's half the battle,
right.
because they're the ones that gotta approve it.
And I supply that to both of these vendors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And as much as I can, as an engineer, not for this kind of engineering, but as an engineer, I can absolutely appreciate the way that VHB is saying, we're gonna check it because we're not going to assume that anything is correct that we haven't done and double checked. I don't think we need to do that here, but I appreciate now I understand why there's such a vast difference in the quote.
yeah, it's still not rocket science.
So,
That bridge is,
Yeah,
not rocket
right,
science,
yeah.
but.
do we actually think we need to bring them in? 'Cause, I mean, we've requested the quotes, we've done everything we can to get this in.
Get going.
And kind of, we do need to start doing things now if we want a chance to do it when the weather is
Spring,
opportune,
right.
spring, summer. So,
And I take it Michi's got.
last,
you
I don't know what their
you know
backlog is
Michi
now,
and
but.
anything, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even if I didn't know them compared to this, I
Well,
mean, they've been in business since 1970s or whatever. And I'm, like you said, it's not that we don't appreciate the hard work, but this is meant for something of a project a lot more.
Like Clothespin
Sustain-
Bridge.
That's
or
right,
something.
that's right. I don't know
Major
how else
bridge.
to say it, so
Right,
I
right.
would make the motion to
Accept.
accept,
the lowest bid.
yeah,
It's okay with me.
lowest bid
All right, we
and,
have a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
So I'll notify Mitchie tomorrow.
and then they can get working on, well, they can get that together, and then we can get prices. Doesn't mean they'll get the box culvert, we'll get prices on
On the culvert.
the
specs.
culverts,
Right.
you know?
We'll get them started on getting the permit.
And did they sound like they could get on it?
Mitchie?
Yeah.
Yes, he did,
Okay,
yeah.
because that's another thing, time is, it's been long enough.
Right.
Okay, no, that's good.
All right.
I'd also like to talk to you, and this is a sore subject, about the invoices outstanding to our
Oh.
former
Well,
engineer.
there, yes, so,
Is, and I'm gonna ask you the question just to make sure, is that appropriate for the public session, or should there be a reputation non-public for part of that discussion?
I think that the discussion about the invoice is appropriate in a public
Okay.
session, yeah. I mean, it's,
I would,
I mean, most of it I think is, but I wanted to make sure because there are certainly, it would certainly be easy to make statements or questions.
yeah, I think you could go down the wrong road.
you could, but there's facts here,
you know,
and the facts are the facts. This is a, she's a private company, not a,
Mhm.
or she, whatever. Right Angle is a private company that,
Yeah.
Yes, Red
You
Angle
know,
Engineering. is
just
a
like
company.
anybody else would be
Mhm.
if you don't do something in a town.
So yes, please. continue
Okay,
that.
well, the outstanding invoices total $13,484.65. Now, I would hope if the town chose to pay that, that the work that had been done on this project is now ours. And I would not pay this until I got it.
Mhm.
And I have no reason to think that, I mean, reason to think that we couldn't use it.
Did you check if, now that we've voted in the direction of Mitchie, did you check with them to see if you were to retain the information, would they want it or would they want to use it? Seating,
Okay, to be very frank, I did,
okay,
and the answer was no.
okay,
How much that they could
okay.
not.
Personally, I'd like to see this person in the selectman's office talking to us.
Well, I would too.
Thank you. I have to be very careful, because you know what I'm gonna say, you know. So I'm not saying it, I'm being good, but.
I don't think it's really asking a lot for a vendor to come in to talk to you, especially if I had a bill that I was owed and it wasn't getting paid.
Maybe there'll be an explanation to some of the questions that we have to what, and.
But I think you're at a different point now than we were. I mean, I think you've decided that you need to go forward with this project and pursue it another direction.
Because there is also the sense that this happens in everyday business, but when something like this is held up without a really good explanation, when you bid on anything, you got a time frame, and when you don't meet that time frame, you get penalized.
And
So-
I think this wasn't a result of a bid, I don't believe. I've not seen any evidence of that. I think this was someone that had been hired to do the job, a job, not this particular one, and had done a few jobs for the town. And it just continued.
But what I'm saying too is that there's costs to the town by it taking so long, and
That's right.
Absolutely.
and so that's what we got to be careful of
That's right.
moving forward
Everything's
with these
going up.
invoices,
I
so.
mean, if you look at, you've been doing this, this has been a project since 2015, I believe.
Yeah.
And prices may have changed since then.
Well, right. Not for and not necessarily for the better, so,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
And
Or
one
that's
of
what
the
you were
things that
saying.
I
it's
want-
never cheaper than the moment
No.
we're in, yeah.
And one of the things I want to caution on, you know, as much as we may want to have a sit-down meeting with Red Angle Engineering,
Yeah,
part of their last communication to us was that, you know, they didn't want to show up until such times as the bills were paid, and their time showing up was a billable event. So if they're coming, they're probably gonna charge us for it. And I don't know that we want to go down that route at this point.
it's like blackmail to me.
So,
So how do you, I mean, the only reason I would even suggest it is because as the way I would be is I don't believe she's owed this money, because there's money that the town is owed because she's cost the town money,
and we didn't get what we were paying
No.
for.
Mhm.
even though, and even the timeliness of the bill, fighting a bill that you get presented that work she thinks she did.
Well, or even sending us a bill with past due dates
Yeah.
that's already been paid.
Yeah, yeah.
Like hoping that we would pay it again or something.
Well, I was asking for a bill right along.
Well, right.
And
you
then
have that probably in
Then
your
I was
emails.
told that one had gone to the former administrator, which I didn't see any evidence of, but maybe it did. But I didn't see it, and I would have thought if.
Well, that was, I think, the paid one.
Probably,
And that's
Yeah, 'cause that was
called,
2019.
yeah.
That was paid.
I think the bill from June of 2020 was the one that she had talked about, the bill for 6860. But at any rate, it didn't matter. We didn't have the bill, and if someone is asking you for bills, I would think you'd make sure you got them to them. It's a board decision. If you decide not to pay this, obviously, and again, I don't know whether this work is worth $13,000, maybe not. But what type of jeopardy is the town in for not paying the bill? And I think if it came to that, we may incur a legal expense. And I'm not saying one way or another, I'm not disagreeing with the board. I'm certainly annoyed that the person will not come in and talk to us. I have asked numerous times, and when you have an engineer, you expect them to drive the bus and to get you through it. That's why you're hiring them. And I have not felt this is the case right from the get-go.
Well, just the point, they wouldn't even come in, you
Yeah.
know, so.
That's
It's-
crazy, that's really crazy.
It's not how it works.
So I guess I'm just wanting to just remind you, and I know you know, that we have this outstanding bill. I had talked to our attorney about this some time ago, and he said, what can you salvage from this, and could you come up with an agreement? And because the person won't talk to me, it's kind of hard to come up with an agreement.
Yeah.
She won't talk to you?
No.
Really? What the heck's going on?
Well, so,
So I think that we basically got 3 options, none of which are really great, but I think we've basically got 3 options. One is just don't pay it, and because we didn't get the services that we requested to be engineered. And there's definitely legal problems there if they decide to push it, but they'll have to push the legal boundaries to come make those problems. Trying to err on the opposite side is we just pay it because then it's over, it's done with, and it was already budgeted for. So then we don't think about it, they don't think about it, it's all done, we move forward, and we get the project done. And those are the 2 obvious ones. The one that I would like to suggest is something in the middle, but would unfortunately likely incur going through legal to request that they make sure the concept is good and then draft it. And that would be that we would agree to pay the full amount if we get all the documentation for all of the testing, all of the engineering, the multiple processes and stages, because we've had a box culvert, we've had slip lining, we've had a different slip lining, we've had different box culverts, we've had normal culverts. They've all been talked about at the meetings as engineering plans that have already been designed. So if we get all of those along with all of the hydrologic and geologic survey results, etc., then we can pay them for what they have now proven and that they've done and delivered. The portion that stems not kind of on the budget side and why it would then require a bit more of legal would be that there are things in these invoices such as increases in hourly rates that we never agreed to. And there are also things that we just don't have and may or may not get. And quite frankly, if we are having the engineering redone, we don't really care if we get them. And so we could use the pricing from the invoices to say, if we don't have this, you won't get this. And so we could kind of set up a tiered approach and tell her, tell Right Angle Engineering, this is the agreement. We agreed to, you agreed to provide us these. So if you do, we'll pay you for it. But if you don't, we won't.
how about the cost that the town's incurred due to the fact that this has been so long? So I personally like option 1. Which is, again, it'd be one thing if she was answering our town administrator. It'd be one thing if she made any kind of effort, besides just sending a bill, to return a phone call, to even help guide us. We let this go on longer when I came on here because you figured she's already got a certain amount of work into it. And to this point right now, what is it? Almost December?
Yeah.
It's December 6th. Nothing but a bill. Okay? We had one meeting, right, with you guys out.
Which was $1,500, which is
We got
ridiculous.
charged for that.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Where
And
D
we-
and I went to, or N and I went to the meeting.
Okay, so me personally, conscientiously, doesn't think she's owed the money. Now, if she shows up and proves us different, we may revisit it. But at this point, the fact that she doesn't return calls, she wouldn't even come to me. She wouldn't even like Zoom in and talk to us.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Zoom meeting.
I mean, in the private world, you can't do that.
No.
Or even state bid jobs. You have a bond, there's a reason, so this doesn't happen,
Right,
right?
right.
And then if you delay it because of your fact that you just aren't doing it, then you're now fined. So she's lucky we're not sending her a bill.
Right.
But
And
we
that's-
don't have a contract, I
that's
get
right,
that,
that's
I
the
get that,
problem.
but nor does she.
True,
Yeah.
true.
And I don't know,
I
I
don't
could be,
understand why she didn't ever get a contract. I don't understand
Well,
it either. But
and you know
that's
what?
beside the point.
It doesn't look like any of them ever had them.
Really?
But lots of the projects and stuff in town and even lots of the contractors and stuff in town have not had contracts.
I'll tell you right
That's
now.
part of the stuff that we've been working
Working
on
on.
Yeah.
fixing.
it's a law for timber, when if I cut your timber and I don't have a contract with you, that's a misdemeanor, and they can charge you with timber theft and no contract. Do you know what I mean? So that's a heavy ruling, because in this case, with the time lapse of this, we probably don't even have time to add up what it's cost the town,
Mhm.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
So, and we didn't ask her not to get back to us, we didn't ask her to, we've been but cordial, you know?
Well, I do want to say that we did actually get something before that. So we had the plans for slip lining.
Right.
We filled out DES form, and we voted to have Dana sign it so that it could be sent in.
Yeah.
And the engineer called and said, don't do that, we're gonna change it back to the previous. So we did actually get something, but not something we could use.
Well, exactly.
And I think that was because she realized that would
She
never
messed
get
up.
DES
That's right.
Yeah.
approval.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And there again, you're, like you pointed out, she's supposed to be steering the bus.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're-
She's
I mean,
supposed
you're
to-
an
Supposed
engineer,
to
like
be
you
the
said.
expert.
You said you're an engineer a certain way. I have experience. We all have experience here, but that's why you pay somebody like that. But when you're not getting a service at all, in a sense, so that's my
Well,
vote.
and we haven't, we haven't heard, I'm just bringing it to your attention, we have these bills, we haven't paid them. I don't know if any day now I'll get a letter from the court saying I'm being sued, but I don't think that would happen, frankly, but if it does,
Mhm.
there you go.
Well, then I would suggest that we go along with Marlo's concept for the time being until we at least get some other communication and an invoice.
Well, that's it. I
Or I
mean,
should
they
say
don't even
a
bother zooming.
newer
How many,
invoice that says, hey, we want this, because at this point, we don't have
anything.
anything to go on, so.
You feel like you should be spending the town's money
For
for
nothing.
nothing,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like a pretend moon or something, you
Well,
know?
yeah,
we would be
right.
spending the town's money on a mistake of previous decisions.
Yeah, but that we tried to heal,
Mhm.
and we still got rejected.
Yes, we.
How's that?
We
You know what I
tried
mean?
really hard to make
So-
that
Yeah.
work.
Okay,
So, if I hear you right, I'm just going to file these under unpaid.
mm-hmm.
Yep, that
Okay.
sounds appropriate at this
Okay.
point in time.
Perfect, thank you.
I mean, I don't understand why she doesn't even want to come and speak with us. She's afraid of us, or big bad.
Somebody told me one day, try never to get into somebody's head that you can't understand. It might be scary up there.
I think
All
I
right.
scared her.
Yeah, that's right, it's because of her.
So we've had a couple things go across our desk now, and normally I do open up for public comment kind of as we go along. We do have some public, so if you'd like to say something, I see head shakes.
Let it rip.
So we will continue along
I think
and
they're telling us it's boring.
head
That's right, yeah, you've been there, done
and head
that.
into new business, and that would be the custodian's job description.
We had talked about the custodian position of putting it with a contract. And I have given that some thought, and I would rather not do that. The custodian is an employee of the town, and we did not have a good job description, so I made one. It's similar to what we've done with the life safety inspector, with the job description and what we expect. And whether it's in my opinion, if it's a contract and someone doesn't live up to their contract, it's not all that different if you have an employee that doesn't
That's right.
live up to
Mhm.
what they're supposed to do. So I guess my position is I'd like to encourage the board to accept the job description. And I will speak with the custodian. I think we're very lucky to have Brenda as a custodian. And to be very honest, it's not easy to find someone. The police aren't the only people that are looking for people. So,
And anybody can work.
It's difficult, but I think it helps me a lot because that way I kind of understand it more. I've been kind of just watching how things work, and it's worked, but
Well, this clarifies everything.
it just cleared.
I have this, what is this first sentence? Requires 10, 5 in parentheses?
Right.
What does that
Requires
mean?
10, what did I say here? Position of partner that requires 10. Oh.
Yes, and I read that 3 times, but I'm like, maybe he's saying 10, 5 days, but that'd be 50 hours.
I think it's based on the red part that says 5 to 10
Yeah,
hours per week.
yeah,
Right.
Yes.
I can clean that up. I put that there so that, just to make sure that.
We
you
all
read
paid
it.
attention. I know, I did see that, but nice job, Dee.
I'm used to proofreading.
That's right.
I've got to do a better
So it's
job.
10, it's gonna be 10 in the parentheses. Or is it gonna be
Well,
changed to 10 to 5?
I'm gonna change it a little bit.
Okay, 5 to 10?
I think we shouldn't really shortchange ourselves on the hours, and especially if we are gonna begin to rent the town
That's right.
hall.
Mhm.
We really need help with setup and cleaning and to make sure that's done. So it's not Russ and me that are doing it,
Right.
Okay.
you know?
So what are you gonna put in that little, requires blank?
I think I might change the hours as needed with an average of 10
Oh, okay,
hours instead of
okay.
5 to 10.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Perfect.
And then I'll fix that.
Okay, you'll fix it.
That's
I
full
trust
time.
you, I
Yeah.
trust you on that. It's okay, sounds good to me.
For under examples of duties, the third one, just because I know it's been a thing in the past, for cleans and sanitizes, I think it should be and performs regular maintenance on, because I know there's filters and stuff that get changed, et cetera, that don't really fall into the other descriptions there.
Okay, so cleans, sanitizes, and performs regular maintenance.
Because your favorite filter down there is one of those things.
Do you give like an example? Not included, but not exception of, here's however you say that, because I could see somebody might look at that and say, well,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be changing out toilets and the sink and the
Well,
faucet.
basically, it's the waterless urinal that,
There's a filter that gets
It's
replaced on it, that's a normal custodial maintenance item.
Yeah, so maybe a little example of, that's what you're looking for,
okay,
not limited to, but not exceeding or something to
okay,
that.
such as.
Yeah,
and things like that.
but not
Not.
changing out a toilet or a sink or,
Right.
Well, yeah, right, yeah.
not that you probably wouldn't understand
That's why I
that,
said regular maintenance instead of,
I suppose,
but-
boy, just like she
True.
says, what do people think?
yes,
It's like-
yes.
So,
People will take whatever they want out of words that are in front of them, even if you spell it out.
that's right, yeah, that's right,
True, you're right.
yep.
So,
But
the rest looks pretty reasonable.
I thought it was very well done.
Mhm.
Dan.
I would love to say I wrote everything, but of course, it's wonderful when you plagiarize. Why reinvent the wheel?
How much, borrowing?
I guess the next question is, do we follow the same procedure that we did with our inspector and that we basically just ask her to sign this as, like, this is what the position is and what you'll be doing?
You know, I think it's interesting, that's a good question. I've always been used to when people have a job description and they're being hired, that they sign something, that they understand what to expect. So, and we did do that with the life safety inspector.
Correct.
So I could do something similar to that, sure.
Well, then they can't say that they didn't get it. Not that that would
Right.
even happen, but there again.
But you
Right.
gotta think of in the future too.
Right,
So
right.
that's
Or
the
I
thing.
thought this because that's what I'd always done.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know, especially if something here changes, you know, and
Yes,
Yeah.
it happens at my place.
so I think that's probably the best process to follow is to.
Okay, so I don't think I need a motion on that, I think I'll just change it and
Okay.
go forward with that.
Okay. So that moves us on to abatement.
We have an abatement. We had a property that changed ownership this year, and because of when the transaction took place, the fine for not filing the inventory the inventory was not filed, which really wasn't the fault of this person. So I'd like you to consider abating $39 for this taxpayer.
That seems reasonable to me.
Fancy pen, got it out?
Hey,
I
he
put
brought
it
his
in there
own
just
pen
so
now,
I
come on.
have it, because the one that I leave here doesn't always stay here.
Is a pen
Are you
thief?
leaving good stuff here? Let me know. So
Oh, no, it's just, it's probably worse than what you've got down in the office, the random stuff that's shown up.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome.
All right, and that moves us to new business intent to cut. I did not happen to
Yes.
see that in the packet.
We have, you did not see it in the packet because it came in late.
Oh, yeah, because
and,
it's not even on the agenda, right?
So,
It's on the agenda, but not
Russ added it to the agenda because it I don't know, came
Oh.
in
He
Friday.
wanted us to pay attention.
We wanted to keep you at
This is the one I printed off tonight.
I-
Well,
I
we're gonna work on
wrote
that.
this tonight.
We're gonna work on
We
that.
are, Dana, because yes, we're gonna work on getting me my stuff.
So this intent to cut is for a job on White Plains. It's a 308,
Oh, it's flashing the batteries.
oh, my battery's at 308 acre lot. And Russ has checked to be sure the taxes have been paid, and
Alright,
et
so,
cetera.
where do we do?
Down at the bottom.
Oh, yes, are we the assessing officials? Yes, we are.
Mhm.
Alright,
Can we just send these to our assessors and expect them to sign them from
I wouldn't send anything to those people.
I was gonna say 12/6, right?
Yes.
21, 22. Boy, am I pushing the year, holy crap.
That's any of us, okay.
Yeah, that one can almost be under exempt, really.
Really?
But that's whatever.
Don't tell them that, Mark.
Okay.
Your little secret.
All right. Do we have any further on that?
That's all I have on that.
All right. Any other new business that is not on the agenda at this point?
No.
Okay. So that brings us to correspondence, which I know we've got at least one.
We do have some correspondence, and I've added one since you've got your packets.
All right.
Oh, there it is.
I guess about 2 weeks ago, there was an email that came from Mr. McLean, the superintendent of the school district,
Mhm.
asking the board to come to a meeting on Thursday, January 13th at 6:30. I think that, did that just go to you, Dave, and then you forwarded, I believe,
yeah, he did.
to the rest of us?
See. That went to,
Yeah, you
well,
said-
I'm on a BCC list, so I can't tell who else it went to.
I thought it was, went through the website.
Yeah, it went
and
to, well, it went to
and
me.
No, it's just from outside of the
Well,
organization.
at any rate,
but-
his assistant telephoned me today, wanting to know if the board is planning to go. to that meeting.
And what's it in
It's a
regards to?
Thursday night. It is their annual collaborative board, select board meeting. So what that means,
That means
I'm not
all the
sure.
town selectmen should go and discuss all the stuff with
They're talking
the
about,
school district.
Yeah.
So it's a big meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
In coming weeks, a draft agenda will be sent out for your review and feedback. I have not seen that.
Well, you won't get that till January.
January 12th, yeah.
Yeah, probably. No, a little before that.
Quote, "Our hope is to continue with our effective partnership and to have collaborative and collegial discussions on the budget, school, and town city initiatives, to talk about ways in which we can continue to connect in our efforts to serve our communities." So I don't know if they've actually done this every year with every town, but to me, this seems like an ideal place for them to follow up on what they said they wanted to do with the small schools stuff,
Mhm.
which was to really get involved with the communities. And so I think that's why it would make sense for us to go if we can. And of course, that's where we can lobby to have our full-size gym actually become a full-size gym.
That's right.
So things of that nature, in theory, should be discussed at a meeting such as this. And it's, yeah, Thursday. So I know that I forwarded this on to make sure that everybody got it, but I had not expected to respond until closer to January because I didn't have an agenda. But if they're asking, then we should look. January 13th.
I think we should go.
Yeah, I have plenty of stuff, but not at the evening, so I can probably make that work.
So, school board.
What do they call it? Collaborative board meeting.
How about work session?
Large
Discussion.
collaborative, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever, that's my simple.
Let's see, so that was 6:30
6:30.
at the high school.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that would be a short meeting.
Never know.
All right.
Bring her a pillow?
Yeah, really. No, you might fall asleep now.
You might want a cushion, but I don't know about a pillow.
Yes, right. Like we always think about bringing here.
All right.
I always thought I had no. Okay.
So shall I tell her that you're planning
Yes.
to go and you're waiting to get the agenda?
Listen, it's in the
Yeah.
schedule now, okay?
Okay,
I'm gonna remind myself at 6 o'clock in the morning, okay?
okay, all right, perfect.
Mine is a couple hours earlier, so I can not forget to have dinner first.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was talking 6 a.m.
Oh, yeah. But,
I start my
all
day.
right.
Okay, the next item is Michelle Tremblay has resigned from the Conservation Commission. I may have mentioned that, but I wanted to be sure you knew that.
We don't have to do anything about that.
You don't.
It's just enough for our information.
Just FYI.
Yep, okay.
The next thing, and I will, you had gotten this in your packet, the update from Olivewood Energy of where they were with that. And also you've got in your packet that Clean Energy New Hampshire letter, that's what we were talking about earlier, that organization. A copy of this deficiency for a property on Deer Meadow Road.
Is that, why do we get a copy of that like that?
I think you automatically get one, the board automatically gets one
Okay.
when these things happen. And the Conservation Commission also gets one. Finally, we have the live streaming and video recording policy, which you approved back in June. We did not have the right RSA at the end. So Russ is asking if you would please sign this. The only change is instead of RSA 91, it's RSA 91A is what the non-public.
Oh, okay. So there has also been a question that was brought forward by the elections folks about this. I can't remember, I think everybody got sent that email.
Yes.
And I briefly asked the question of, well, since these are open and public meetings, how would that be handled with normal people there? And it was basically, well, they would be asked to leave. And that seemed interesting to me, and like, if that's the case, it should be non-public. However, based on the fact that they are, even though a lot of that stuff is public information, just the fact that they are continually calling out things like names and addresses and or phone numbers and that sorts of thing, even when not in the portions that are additionally worrisome to them, and that they were concerned about. I'm all for full transparency on everything, but that should be transparency on the way that government works, not on private citizens' lives and information. So I would actually like to suggest that we remove and exempt, or I should say that we exempt the elections committee from the streaming and recording policy, except in the cases of the actual election or, you know, election process.
Because this wasn't a problem before when we didn't have the streaming.
Right.
Correct.
Right, okay. So
And
this
most
is
of
just
their
kind
meetings are dealing with checklists,
Yeah,
changes.
Yeah, it's basically
and
the
things like
checklist
that.
and personal information for
Yeah.
it,
We're a
so,
long ways to get there.
yeah.
Glad we, but I second that. Yes, because you're just asking.
Okay, all right.
So-
Would you like us to change that and put that in the
So,
policy?
yeah, I think
Okay.
I'd like to add that into the policy,
Okay.
because they make it
Oh,
a
that's why you're not
valid
gonna sign
point.
it yet?
Yeah,
Listen
they
to you.
make a valid point in the kinds of information. I think process probably could fix the issue that they're having, but erring on the side of caution, I think it makes sense to just not do it.
Right.
So we had the motion to exempt them, seconded by Marlo, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Dave, you did the motion, right?
yes. Did we have any other correspondence?
No, that's all I had for
All right.
correspondence.
That moves us on to the actual section for public comment.
I think you're doing great.
He would just
thank
like
you
you
very
to, he'd
much.
like you to move on. Thank you.
All
When
right.
people tell you that, I'd run.
Thank you.
All right, so motions and approvals. We have a list of draft meeting minutes, 10:12, 10:13, 11:15, 11:15 non-public sessions, two of them, 11:29 and an 11:29 non-public. Has everybody gotten a chance to look at them all?
Yep.
Are there any suggested changes to any of them? Or questions on any of them?
I didn't have any.
No.
All right.
Did you?
In that case, that there was one like grammatical thing that doesn't really matter, doesn't change anything of effect. So I would move that we approve all of the draft meeting minutes as written for 10:12, 10:13, 11:15, 11:15 non-public sessions 1 and 2, 11:29 and 11:29 non-public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You know, I wish Russ were here for that.
You
He
can
would
send
really
him-
have
you
enjoyed
can send him a YouTube clip.
Yeah.
All right, that moves us on to the motion for the trustees of trust funds.
And I have some new ones since you got your.
Oh, aren't we lucky?
Well, then I'll look at that instead of the ones in the packet. Let's see here. So you can make sure that the numbers match as we go through them. Let's see, chapter, gravel, what is the last one? For? Oh, for aggregate.
Aggregate.
So that is, that's Bosquen sand and gravel as well, I believe.
Oh, I didn't write in who it was. Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay. So I move to request the trustees of trust funds issue a check payable to Bergeron Protective Clothing in the amount of $506.13 for invoice 229295 for bunker gear. These funds to come from the fire department bunker gear capital reserve fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I would move to request the trustees of trust funds issue a check to Fleece and Flower Farm LLC in the amount of $8,655 for invoices 6596 in the amount of $3,640 and invoice 6597 in the amount of $5,015. These funds are to be withdrawn from the Highway and Road Capital Reserve Fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I've moved to request the trustees of trust funds issue a check payable to Health Tractor in the amount of $1,400 for equipment rental for Concord and Pennacook Circle Road construction. These funds to be withdrawn from the Highway and Roads Capital Reserve Fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd move to request the trustees of trust funds issue a check payable to Bosquen Sand and Gravel in the amount of $2,081.43 for invoice P2005860 for aggregate for Concord Drive in the amount of $1,031.16 and invoice P210041519 for aggregate for Concord Drive in the amount of $1,050.27. These funds to be withdrawn from the Highway and Roads Capital Reserve Fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd move to request the trustees of trust funds issue a check payable to Bosquen Sand and Gravel in the amount of $2,473.17 for invoices P210041518 in the amount of $2,254.13 and invoice P210041562 in the amount of $219.04 for aggregate for general maintenance.
Second.
These funds to come from the Road Preservation Expendable Trust Fund.
Sorry. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nice job. Did you get all that?
I'm good.
Right
Word for
along,
word.
man.
All right. And that leaves us with signing of documents.
And you have no
And-
signing this time because of.
Perfect.
We're on the, I'll need to see you next week.
Yes, because we are on the alternating week schedule this time, okay? Which leaves us with, I believe we have a non-public.
We had a request for non-public, so, and that is 91-A3, Roman numeral 2, C.
Right, 2C. All right, I move that we go into non-public under 91A. Great.
91A,
Yeah.
colon 3,
2C.
section 2C.
That's reputation, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, at 8:59, and for reference to everybody on the stream, we will then adjourn immediately following our non-public session, so there will not be any restream or continuation of the stream. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Gee, we should have pushed them up a little ahead of time, then they could have gone home. But we like to have audience, so.
Well,
A smiling audience, too.
It's that not